Hello everyone. In the previous lectures, we were discussing an important topic called correlation of science and other school subjects, wherein we have correlated or seen how science is related with language, mathematics, history. So today we will discuss such a correlation of the subject of science with geography. Now let us see how science and geography are related to each other. Geography is a subject in which various concepts relating to Earth on which we live are dealt with. So everything that is existing on the Earth, on different planets of the universe, is also main subjects of geography. So geography basically deals with everything that is present on the Earth and also on different planets of the universe. Again, which kind of crop should be sown in which kind of soil? How many kind of rocks are found on the earth are some of the main topics which are covered by geography. So it deals with almost everything under the sun and in the universe. And one will be surprised by this fact as these topics are also covered by the subject of science. So the topics that we just discussed are also dealt in science at a different level and with a different perspective. In science, various concepts relating to the atmosphere and earth in which living and non-living beings exist are made. So in a way, we are studying the same thing but with a different perspective in science. So for this reason, temperature, wind directions and measurement of rainfall are conducted in the subject of science by making use of various apparatus. And the results obtained by the science in terms of climate and the manner in which it affects the human beings and earth are being interpreted by the subject of geography. So, science studies the scientific principles or the functioning or the way by which the phenomena are carried out. And geography studies how this phenomena impacts human beings and how, in what manner it can affect the way human beings live. And the manner in which it is mentioned by the geography that how soil gets produced through crushing process of rocks, it makes a subject a special branch of science. So in a way, if we could focus on the subjects that are topics that the subject of geography deals with, it is more or less similar to what we deal with in science. Therefore, geography lessons on these subjects will be best understood and preferred if they have been discussed in length by the science teacher. So if the geography teacher and the science teacher discusses such topics which are in common, then it will give students an overall understanding of the whole topic or the area that is covered in both these subjects. So the students will get an overall or overview of the entire concept. We can also note that there are various topics which are common interest for geographers and scientists. Thus, it can be said that both of these subjects are complementary to each other and both of these subjects are very near to each other. Thus, science teacher will not find any kind of problem in relating science to the subject of geography. So, in a way, science and geography are related to each other and they are very complementary to each other. So, this was about how science and geography are related and how interaction between the science teacher and the geography teacher on certain topics can help the students get an overall understanding of the area. So now let us see how science is related to art. Now when we think of science and when we think of art, they look like two ends, isn't it? Or something which we cannot even think of correlating. But it will be very interesting as we will go through the slides that how science and art is related. Now it is considered by the majority of people that it is science who has contributed a great deal in developing the field of art. So people have an opinion that science has contributed a lot in the subject of art. But this is not true, as both of these subjects or areas has played important roles in enriching each other. Instead of only saying that science only has contributed to art, we can say that both the subjects have contributed equally to each other. Now let us see how and why we are saying so. Now all types of arts have got enriched as a result of scientific development, isn't it? But it is not possible for a science teacher to impart information relating to various scientific facts and principles without having thorough control over the art. Now, why we are saying that a science teacher needs to have thorough control over the art is because, as we know that science is a practical subject, and as a result of which, science teacher is required to draw various kinds of diagrams, models, and charts, which cannot be performed unless he or she does not have sound artistic skills. So, as a science teacher, we deal with many topics, many areas, many concepts that requires visual representation. And in order to do that, if you're not making use of ICT or ready-made pictures available, most of the times the teachers prefer to draw it on the board. And a teacher who does not have a good artistic skills, a teacher will not be in a position to make an impact on the students uh, while drawing a given chart or maybe a diagram or a model. So not only this, it is equally important for an artist to have thorough knowledge of scientific principles. Now, why would an artist or why should an artist need to have understanding of scientific principles? Because as without that, he or she will find it difficult to keep the color contrast of his images in attractive and controlled position. So the way the colors the artists use involves a lot of scientific principles and theories. And an artist should know the principles of light and shades, objects and background for drawing or keeping the color contrast in attractive conditions. So there is a lot of science that is involved in art. Thus, it can be said that some common features are found in the subjects of science and art because of which they can be correlated with each other effectively. So now the one who do not have an idea of how science can be correlated to art would get an understanding that how art is related to science and how an interaction or maybe an association with the art teacher in making your science teaching more enriching and more perfect in terms of drawing the diagrams, charts, will make a lot of difference to both the subjects. And we can make use of the knowledge of art in the subject of science. Moving ahead, let us see now how science and music are related to each other. Now, when we think about music, I can guess that many of you cannot imagine how science and music can be related. So let us see how science and music are related and can make a lot of difference to each other if they are used properly or the components of both these subjects are used properly in both the areas. So in our nation, music has its own importance as different kinds of songs are found in different parts of the nation. There are songs and theories of music in different languages, and various musical stars were got born in our nation, but the number of persons engaged in musical area has diminished to a considerable extent as now people consider it as wasted of time and efforts. And why people think of it that way? Now, whatever may be the reason behind it, but to encourage people and especially students to get involved themselves in the professions having their roots in music, this has been accepted as independent subject in various schools and institutions, and it forms an integral part of school curriculum. As we must have noticed that many schools do have a music teacher and they need to go or need to attend compulsory music classes, at least in the standard of 9, because music can impact a human being in different ways. And for the students of music, those who are pursuing their career in music, knowledge of resonance, vibration systems and strings, and air columns is very necessary and important. So there's a lot of science involved there because music is all about sound, pleasantness. So there are various concepts like resonance, vibration systems, or air columns, so musical instruments that make use of air column in order to produce sound. Then those systems which make use of strings to create or to produce sound, resonance, how they all contribute in generating a good music, are the areas of science which uh, a musician or a person who wants to study music needs to understand. So, to make improvement in their voice and manner of singing, various scientific equipments are being used today, which could not come to being without scientific developments. So, thus, it is only through the utilization of scientific developments in real life that led to the development of various apparatuses used in the musical field. And now we are aware that there are so many things, so many advancements that have happened in the area of music, in the field of music, that were not there before. And it is all the contribution, or all this contribution is because of the scientific developments or use of those principles in reality to make uh, generating music or creating music easier. And when we think of a science teacher can relate subject of science with the music by narrating the students that what led to the development of various equipments used by the musicians and on which principles do they operate or function. So all the instruments that the musicians use, there is a scientific principle or a theory that is behind that. So science teacher can encourage the students to learn that principle or theories because it is actually an application of those principles in real life and you can see it working. Thus, in conclusion, when we think of how subjects like mathematics, history, language, music, art, geography are correlated with science, we can say that if science teacher relates the subject of science with the other subjects, like the ones I have just mentioned, the science teacher can give justifiable results, as in the way the subject of science can be or it's taught to the students can be changed to a considerable extent, and the students will also find it interesting to see how the subject of science is related to the other subjects that they are studying. So instead of keeping the subject of science as an independent area or saying that or thinking that science is something different than the other subjects, is something difficult, we as science teachers should try and correlate the subject of science with the other subjects that we have just seen and make learning science more interesting. So if any one of you is having query regarding this topic that is just dealt, please feel free to type it in the chat box. Thank you.